Hi everyone. This is my week 5 or discussion number 4. It's kind of crazy to think that it's week 5 already. These past few weeks have really flown by. We only have a few weeks left. It's really crazy. Okay, so just to begin with, the habit 4 from the 7 habits of highly effective people: seek first to understand, then to be understood. I think this is a really important habit. A lot of the times when you're talking with someone, this is kind of the first thing that came to my mind is a lot of times when we're talking to someone, we're not really trying to listen and understand what they're saying. We're trying to think of what we're going to say next, especially if you're like having an argument. I think this really comes into play. You're like trying to think of the next point that you're going to make, instead of listening to what they have to say and kind of trying to see things from their side. Um, I actually had to use this a lot at work. In my old position, I worked directly with members who were in the LTSS program. It's the long-term services and support. So these are Quest members who are really, really sick. They're usually like pretty old as well. The majority of them, not all of them, but it's people who are just they really need help. And so a lot of times when they would call too, they'd be really frustrated, and we've really had to do our best to understand where they're coming from and to hear them out. So sometimes even though you want to just say like, no, you can't do this, or say, this is going to take this long, you kind of have to just like hear them out. Sometimes they would tell you like their whole life story, but I always tried my best to take the time to listen to them, to understand where they were coming from, because you have to understand that um, they have a lot going on, and they're not coming really from a great place. They're going through a lot. Their families are going through a lot. So yeah, I had to practice that a lot in that position. Um, and usually I try to think of the bigger picture, try to hear people out and see things from their side or their point of view as well. Sometimes it can be hard to do that, but that's like one thing that I always kind of try to make a point of, is just to see things from the other person's perspective and where they're coming from. Okay, so the next part, personally and professionally. So I kind of explained it professionally for me. Um, Also, you can use it pretty much in any profession, just to hear different inputs from other people. Sometimes we have panels with doctors discussing things, and um, you can really see it here how someone might bring up a new point, or they might see something differently, how they have to explain how they would do something differently. So it's always important just to kind of um, see that and listen to other people's sides. And then it's even better if you can, kind of admit, like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that. That's a really good point that you made. So it's nice always being able to do that too, and then it shows the other person that you are listening to them. Um, and then personally too, with like your personal relationships, um, it's always good to be empathetic and to show your friends if they're having a problem, the same problem that you've heard like a million times before, just to listen and let them know that you're there, and offer them your support and your advice as well. Um, Effective leadership. This is really good for effective leadership. It's always good for leaders to listen to others, especially their team members. Sometimes people might have a really good idea. It's always important, even if someone's underneath you and they kind of bring up an idea, it's always good to be open to suggestions. That's kind of one thing that they told me with my new position is, I'm a new set of eyes, and if I see anything or any um, kind of improvements, process improvements that we can implement, if there's things that could make some of our tasks easier, to let them know so that they can explain, like, either, oh, okay, yeah, that would make sense to do that, but this is why we have to do it this way, or for them to be like, oh yeah, we never thought of that before. Um, so my boss has been really open with hearing things. I found like a couple things before, and I was like, this is really tedious. Like, could we just do it this way? And then she was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that'd be great. So I think it's really important for a leadership to uh, listen to listen to others, and try to understand where they're coming from, and then others will understand them as well. Let's see. Okay, so for pre-seed, proceed model, phases 4 and 5. Let's see if I can pull that up. Okay, so I told you guys I was gonna maybe discuss my phase 3 this week because I didn't talk about it last week. So the predisposing factors, I just kind of talked about the knowledge, attitudes, beliefs, values, perception, culture, tradition, religion, social pressure, things like that. I said that these factors play a big part in who we are, and they can generally explain why we do the things that we do. They can be learned over time, and they tend to have a major influence on why we do or don't do certain things. They tend to vary from person to person, different beliefs and backgrounds, but similar characteristics can be found in those who come from similar backgrounds. Um, and these characteristics can really help guide us when it comes to making choices. For reinforcing factors, I stated that the rewards were cultural traditions, bringing families together, temporary pleasure of like sugary or fat foods, social eating, things like that. Punishments for being like overweight or obese could be leading to chronic diseases, increased medical expenses, the stigma with being overweight, lowered self-esteem, mental health issues, things like that. He said that it's common for members of the community to try and uphold a good reputation within their community, especially if their community is tight knit. People's choices can easily be influenced by how others perceive them and what they think they should be doing. I think that definitely plays a big part in this. Enabling factors are things like limited access to healthy foods for lower income families, so that's availability and price. Safe sidewalks, bike lanes, especially on busy roads. Safe and clean parks and recreational areas. They can influence participation in outdoor activities. Um, Reasonably priced fitness centers, convenient, affordable, and local farmers markets, access to programs such as like the bike share program. I live over kind of by King Street in town, and they have the new like Bicky bikes, and that is super super popular. I see people riding them all the time. And I started walking to and from work because it's pretty close to where I live. And it gives me a little bit more exercise. And just seeing the bike lanes and all the bikes that they're using, it's crazy because usually I see at least like 20 people just like walking to work. I'll see like 20 people pass by me on bikes in the bike lane. So it's really awesome that we have that and people are using it. I think that we could possibly expand that program and maybe try to take it to like Waianae. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't be using it as going to work or anything, but they could do like a scenic route or something. That would be really nice. I also included numerous fast food chains